Hi guys, Marvin here from TechBroll.com, where we do unboxings, reviews, and sexy b-rolls. And today, I'm finally giving you guys my full review of the new Rakk Sinaya Gaming Case. I'll share with you my experience building inside this, as well as some thermal benchmarks in comparison with the Rakk Hawani Flow. With that being said, let's get into it. Alright guys, so I actually did an unboxing and first impression of this case already on our second Pinoy Tech B-roll channel, which I highly suggest you subscribe by the way, although of course it is in Filipino language. But let's take a look again at the key features around the case here. So the side panel uses only 2 thumb screws at the back, which is quite convenient, with a sliding locking mechanism in front, but you will still have to be careful since it might tip over sideways. Now to remove the front panel, my suggestion is to first pinch the locks behind the panel, then gently pull it from the bottom, and then completely remove it from the top. Upon removing the front panel, you'll be greeted by a nice magnetic dust filter, which I really appreciate, especially for a budget case like this, and it also has another magnetic dust filter at the top. Another nice improvement here is with the rubber grommets. It feels sturdy enough compared to what the Rakk Hawani have, and it is also already pre-attached. As for the drive cage, we have a rather small one at the bottom that can accommodate two 3.5-inch HDD and possibly a 2.5 HDD or SSD. Aside from that, we also have 2 removable 2.5-inch SSD trays at the back. This case also supports vertical GPU installation with an included bracket, but you'll have to purchase a PCIe riser cable separately. Underneath the case, we have a small dust filter for the power supply, but it is just clipped and not a sliding type, which is quite unfortunate. Besides that, we have here the mounting holes for the drive cage, and this is actually quite important, which we'll discuss later. As for the top I/O, we have a large power button, 2 LED indicators, a super small reset switch, an LED button, 1 USB 3.0, 2 USB 2.0, and the microphone and headphone ports. Unfortunately, we don't have an option for a USB Type-C, but that is understandable for this price point. Now at the top, you can install 2 140mm fans or 2 120mm fans, and it can also accommodate a 240mm AIO, which is what we will test on this build. In front, you can install 3 120mm fans or 2 140mm fans, and of course, you can also install either a 240mm or a 360mm AIO. At the back, you can install either a 120mm fan or a 120mm AIO. And since this is a mid-tower case, we have 7 PCIe slots right here with non-reusable metal covers, unfortunately. We also have a quite large cutout for the motherboard's backplate, and it also has some pre-installed standoffs. Alright guys, with all the key features out of the way, let's start building inside the Rakk Sinaya Gaming Case. Alright guys, so building inside the Rakk Sinaya Gaming Case is certainly challenging, but with proper skills and enough patience, you can easily build inside this one. But I'd say it is definitely easier to build inside this compared to the Rakk Hawani Flow, but it's not perfect. For starters, my suggestion is to remove the drive cage first, then install the first hard drive on top before installing the second one inside. You have to remove the drive cage or else it's going to be a pain in the butt to screw the drives while the cage is installed on the case. On the other side of things, the drive cage placement seems adjustable, and it also has a rubber anti-vibration spacer, which is nice. Now, before you jump in and install the motherboard, make sure to check the standoffs if you already have enough installed. Now, as for the initial cable management, as you can see, it is pretty tight down here, but like I said, you only need the patience to pass this challenge. Rubber grommets are still quite flimsy, but not as bad as what the Hawani Flow has. You can still properly use it once you successfully pass the cable. Another challenge is with the front panel connectors. The cutout here is rather small, so my suggestion is to insert the USB 3.0 cable and the graphics card cable first before plugging in the connectors. And if you want rainbows on your build, then you won't get disappointed with the USB 2.0 and the HD audio cables, as you can see here. Why Rakk? Why? Cable management so far is good, as you can see here, and SSD installation is super easy as well, and you can also use this to hold some cables, just don't over tighten them. Now, like I said, the Rakk Sinaya, unlike the Rakk Hawani and the Hawani Flow, now allows you to install a 240mm AIO at the top. And that is at least for my motherboard, which is the Aorus B450 Pro Wi-Fi. So installing the Bixby 240mm AIO on top was a breeze, and there's actually still a lot of headroom for the RAM. By the way guys, just a quick tip, you can use a couple of tiny double-sided tape on the backplate of the CPU cooler so that you can easily install and screw AIO or other CPU coolers in front without it falling. So yeah, like I said, the top part has enough clearance for 240mm AIO and 2 140mm case fans. There is also enough clearance to install a 120mm case fan at the back. As for the fan installation in front, it is also super easy, and there are a handful of adjustment slots for different sizes of case fans. Now for the Rakk Pro fan hub, I decided to put it right beside the motherboard cutout because that's probably the only place it can fit. and I used the Velcro strap included on the Rakk Pro to mount it. So here's the final cable management. In my opinion, I think it is pretty decent. And thanks to the single cables of the Rakk Pro and the fan hub, it made cable management even easier with fewer cables to deal with. By the way, make sure to watch my review of the Rakk Pro case fans here. Unfortunately, I don't have a PCIe riser, so I just installed my graphics card in a traditional way like so. So overall, like I said, building inside the Rakk Sinaya is challenging, but with enough preparation, especially after watching this video, I'm pretty sure you will be able to build inside this in no time. Alright guys, before we end this video, let's take a look at some thermal benchmarks, shall we? Okay, so since I can finally install an AIO at the top, I decided to go that route and see how the temps will differ from my previous configuration, which is a front-mounted AIO with 2 fans at the back in a full configuration. And this time I only used 2 Rakk Pro as the radiator fans. So basically we have 2 fewer fans in this build compared to when I used the Rakk Flow. So the first test is a 10-minute idle test using the low RPM preset of the Rakk Pro. And looking at these results for our processor, which is an AMD Ryzen 5 2600X, the Rakk Sinaya is significantly cooler at max but a little hotter on the average. But I'd say these are also close and not that significant of a difference. Next test is a 30-minute stress test using ID64 and using the high-profile RPM of the Rakk Pro. And this is where we can see the difference in temps when it comes to mounting an AIO in front getting fresh air compared to mounting it on top getting hot air from other components inside the case, as the temperature is obviously hotter for our processor but still pretty decent in my opinion. As for gaming, which is kinda our real-world performance test here, the results are pretty close to each other, but take note that we have 2 fewer case fans on our new configuration, so this means we're not losing anything when it comes to performance, which is actually quite nice. Now the next test is for our graphics card, which is a Zotac 1070 Mini, and this one benefits the most with this new configuration as it is now the one getting fresh air from the front intake. And these results verified that, as you can see, our graphics card inside the Rakk Sinaya with top-mounted AIO is significantly colder, at least when idle. But during load, everything balanced out, as our test results here shows that all the configuration we had yielded the same results for our graphics card during load. However, for gaming, which is again our real-world performance test, the Rakk Sinaya once again yielded better results here with a significantly lower average temperature. Overall, even with 2 fewer fans, the Rakk Sinaya with the Rakk Pro performed on par and even better on some cases against the Rakk Flow with either the Rakk Pro or the ID cooling case fans. So to conclude, building inside the Rakk Sinaya is challenging but definitely easier than I thought it would be. Performance-wise, it is pretty decent as you saw on our benchmarks, and with an open front intake, it is certainly better than most restricted front intake cases out there. Not to mention that it has this nice modern, stylish, and polished look to it for just around 2,000 pesos or $40 US. Now, if there's something that I want to improve on this just in case Rakkiers is listening, it would be a better implementation for the drive cage and a little more space at the back. A white version and a micro ATX version is also something that I've heard people are asking as well. And there you have it guys, thank you for watching. Make sure to check the full article link below. Huge thanks as always to Rakkiers for sending this in and for their continued support to this channel. You can get this case from their partner stores as well as their official website. Thank you for watching, please consider subscribing and subscribe to our second Pinoy Tech B-Roll channel as well. Thank you, see you next time, have a good day.